Former cheaters of Reddit. How were you caught by your significant other? Not me, but my wife. We started getting distant from each other and we had planned a trip to see my grandparents who live a few states away. A month before the planned trip, she told me that she wanted to cancel it and go to a family reunion on her side of the family in a completely different state, and that she wanted to go alone and not bring out kids. I thought it was weird because wouldn't you want to introduce your kids to family hey never see? Like I said, we were growing distant, so I just said okay fine, go. Maybe time apart will be good for us. She came back and suddenly wanted to move across the county to go work at a hospital job that her distant aunt had offered her. Didn't even ask me if I was willing to go. I told her you do whatever it is you need to do to be you, but you're not taking the kids. After a few days she realized that she couldn't leave and not see the kids, so she begged me to forgive her. I did. Over the next month we became more distant than we were before all this had happened. I took lunch at work and decided to go home for it, which I never do. Also, when I got home there was nobody home, so I decided to go through her computer, which I also never do. Found pictures of her with some guy she had met on Zynga Poker who lived guess where? The state that her supposed family reunion was. I've never had a panic attack until this day. I had to call my neighbor and have him sit with me because I legit thought I was having a heart attack. Took pictures of everything I found. Other pictures, emails, and Facebook messages. I waited until the kids were in bed. I refused to fight and scream in front of them and laid all my pictures out there for her to see. Not a fun day. I hope this post shows the value of Zynga Poker and increases my stock holdings with them. That awkward moment when you're both dating for 7 months and then you both find each other on Tinder close to your 8-month mark. It was kind of hilarious because we both were like, that kinda checks out. Wanna see other people, and so we both broke up but still stayed friends and kept our friend group together even till today. TLDR found each other on Tinder close to our 8-month mark. Decided to just be friends again. Not me, but how I discovered my high school girlfriend was cheating on me. She told me for my birthday. My ex-girlfriend cheated on me while I was in basic training. I was allowed to call on my birthday. Being madly in love, I used it to call my girlfriend who was pregnant with our daughter. I remember the conversation as if it were yesterday. Her, hello. Me, hey babe, I miss you. How are you doing? Her, okay, I have someone who wants to talk to you. New boyfriend, hey man, don't worry about her, I am taking good care of her. Me, oh, okay, may I talk to her? New boyfriend, sure, here she is. Her, what? Me, this is balls. Slamming down the receiver for the payphone. Apparently I echoed. I received a letter from her that day with her telling me she had a miscarriage, which later found to be a lie. I strongly recommend a DNA test. Not me, but my buddy. He is such a great guy and yet has been cheated on by every girl he has ever dated. First girl apparently gets so blackout drunk that she can't tell who is who because after going to a party one night ended up telling my friend that they should frick in the bathtub like they did the other night. Only he had never had fricked in the bathtub. Second girl dumps him because she was convinced he was cheating on her. After swearing up and down that he wasn't, he finally asked why she was so convinced. He's a great guy and would never even give the slightest reason for her to be suspicious. She told him that she had been cheating, so he had to have been too. Third girl that he is currently with is best friends with her most recent ex, as in still goes on best friend dates, and she still lives with and is friends with her ex-boyfriend. It is apparent to everyone but him that he is getting cheated on. He really is just so sweet and naive. Second girl dumps him because she was convinced he was cheating on her. She told him that she had been cheating, so he had to have been too. Actually frick people like this, lol. Guess the way I worded this was odd. Thanks for the laughs guys, Lomeo made my crappy day much better. Advertised myself on Craigslist casual encounters and her brother-in-law found me on there. It wasn't until some time later I questioned what he was doing in there also. Maybe he was looking for you. Got exposed through Facebook after advertising myself on Craigslist casual encounters. My entire family, friends and of course girlfriend all got screenshots of pictures and messages that I had sent. Needless to say I don't do that anymore. We were about 6 months into living together and already mutually feeling like it may not last. came home from work one day and saw her sitting on the couch with a guy who was wearing her nightie, a pink nightie, drinking coffee. I said, oh, hey. I walked by them, got a beer, and joined them in the living room. So, what's going on here? I asked. This is Paul. We just met at the bike shop, she said. And it looks like you slept together. I said, yes, she said. And Paul then introduced himself, and somehow we got to talking. In a matter of a few minutes, Paul and I ended up going to the store, got more beer and hung out at the bike shop, became good friends. Neither of us were interested in the gal anymore. Good times. Well, this was actually kind of a cute story, in a weird way. Buddy of mine was cheating on his wife with a cam girl. They were a very religious church-going couple in their 20s. The cam girl blackmailed him for $500 or she would send it to his entire friends list. Wife, parents, grandma, pastor. He paid her off. When she asked for $500 more, he confessed. She still sent the videos. It was pretty crazy for a while. The wife was considering a divorce until she got pregnant. They worked things out, and things are all good now. The guy really turned around and became a much better person. Mate was caught by his wife leaving her tablet on record when she went to work, parked up the road and waited, then walked in mid-flow and called the cops saying there was a burglar in the house which she'd cornered. She's got him cornered, officer. She's really holding him down. She seems to be using the box out method. First time. Her sister uploaded a photo of her kissing her boyfriend on MySpace 11 years ago. Second time. She had switched her cell phone to my account. 3 days before our wedding, I was trying to figure out something on my bill when I find that she's up until 3 AM every morning talking to her other boyfriend. We got married. Because, stupid. Third time. A guy comes to my place of work and tells me he just saw my wife at the movies on a date and snuggling with another guy. I confront her. She calls me a liar and accuses me of cheating. Lots of things could qualify for the fourth time here. Suffice it to say, one morning a few months later and I open her laptop just to check my email and find she had a message thread with guy from first time and they were both talking about when to call each other. When I was at work and his current wife was asleep. Really crummy stuff. I confront her. She moves out. I then dated 3 women in a row who all cheated on me. I used to pick real winners. Once again, I discovered via social media postings others made or accidentally stumbling upon messages. I should point out that all of these cheaters were good Mormon girls. I should have known then that Mormonism was screwed up. Alas, I'm married now. We're both really straightforward and I'd be shocked to be cheated on at this point. But I've learned what heartbreak is, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. I saw she had a different brand of condoms than I use in her bag. I checked her phone when she was in the shower and confirmed it. When I cheat, I don't use condoms for that reason. I knew my fiance had cheated on me, knew the night it happened, but she kept lying to me and I knew it was going to continue. Ended up confirming it by going through her IMs on her laptop. I knew it was over the moment I violated that trust, but at least I walked away knowing I had been faithful. Bonus point due to the fact that the IM that exposed her was the new guy apologizing for lasting less than 2 minutes in bed. They ended up getting married and divorced. My ex-girlfriend moved with her cousin for 3 months to Hawaii from Chicago while we were still dating. One night she calls me and asks me to guess where they are. Thinking she is rubbing at my face that they're enjoying Hawaii, I gave her a haha. Very funny. Turns out she and her cousin had just fricked the band middling country band, Trick Pony, in their hotel room after a show in Honolulu. She was calling to tell me and break up with me. What the frick? Sorry you had to deal with that, but she is a piece of crap. You can do so much better. Knew my wife was up to some shady crap. Went through her texts, which I sent a lawyer. The one text that cut the deepest? Baby cakes Marco asking if he could jizz on her engagement wedding ring. Frick you, Amanda. I caught my ex thanks to fricking Pokemon Go of all things. She mentioned Pokemon Go was using lots of her data. I explained that in her settings she could see how much data an app was using. I proceeded to show her and prove to her it wasn't by pointing out Tinder was using much more data. It was sad but also funny the way it went down. You are well on your way to catching them all, young trainer. My ex spoiled it to my then so of 1 month by showing WhatsApp messages between me and ex and my dick pics. Learned a life lesson back then. No more dumb teenager crap. I've come home from work to find her in bed with one of her friends. I raged for a few minutes, then I remembered that I did that to her too. So I relaxed myself in a matter of seconds and told her that a month prior this, I cheated on her with a colleague at work. I did not log out. She saw an email. I came home expecting my happy home and lady, but it was utter chaos. Turns out she was attracted to a guy from work and was looking through my open computer to see if I suspected her. We split up pretty much immediately. We had it all but both wanted greener grass. Honestly, so much time has passed now I can look back and say I honestly made a mistake. I loved her and she was a great friend. I wonder how she feels. Caught my ex-GF after she stayed at her sister's house for the night, which is hilarious because it smelled like cat crap and rotting food, so she refused to visit her. Went through her phone the next day and found the proof I needed. I moved out the next day. I almost got caught once in high school. Invited one girl over to my house after some kinky ASL exchanges on AOL Instant Messenger. While I was hanging out with her, my actual girlfriend dropped by unannounced. Came by because she knew me more than anyone and knew I wouldn't be doing anything useful with my time. So I convinced the other girl it was my crazy sister and we hid in the living room listening to her bang on my door, call my name, and call my phone for an hour. Just before Christmas I was at a bar and some girl asked if I was going to buy her a drink. I said no and she said I'll kiss you. I said no again and she got like really offended and tried to grab my head. My GF was at the bar too, just in another area. Afterwards when I walked back to the table, I was thinking, dang, if she had seen that and knew I didn't know she was looking, I would have just scored SOOO many BF points. But I can't tell her either because then it would be braggadocios. So I share with you guys. I got caught cheating, but hadn't cheated. My wife and I went away for a weekend, during which time my teenage son decided to have a low-key party. There were only about 10 kids, and we knew about it, so it wasn't like a Hollywood teensploitation movie with the house getting trashed or anything. Just a bunch of kids over for movies, board games, and so on. What we didn't know is that one couple decided to use the opportunity to get a little privacy in our bedroom. They were almost discreet about it, but they made one mistake. The boy brought a 6-pack of condoms and only used one and then left the box with the other 5 in my nightstand drawer. I rarely use that drawer, so it was almost 6 months later before my wife found the open box with one condom missing. She'd been doing some house cleaning and was putting away the miscellaneous junk that had accumulated on top of the nightstand. It took her a whole week to confront me about it. The entire time, she was weirdly cold. Kept asking me if there was anything I wanted to tell her about, hinting around subjects like trust and fidelity and what would happen if one of us cheated. I was like, okay, you're being super strange, but whatever. I figured it was just a phase or something. Finally, she was waiting for me in the room one night. As I came in to get ready for bed, she opened my nightstand and said, "Just what is this?" and pointed to the open box of condoms. I was like, I have no idea. It's a bit TMI, but we don't use them because I had a vasectomy after our youngest was born. No amount of protesting, pleading, speculation, denial, etc. would satisfy her. In her mind, I banged some hoe, apparently just once, and hadn't even had the common decency to cover up my crime. That storm took 2 weeks to blow over. We finally got to the point where our kids found out about why we were constantly arguing. My son gulped and then bolted out of the room. A few minutes later, he had a very apologetic friend on the speakerphone. Of all the awkward conversations I have had in my life, that one has to be in the top 10. This story is now part of our family mythos, and it gets trotted out on occasion as that time mum thought dad was cheating on her. It always ends the same way, and somehow it was still his fault, because somehow I should have been more understanding of her feelings or accepted my obvious guilt to spare her any more pain and suffering. To be fair, I did have a proper case of righteous indignation, but I kind of think I came by it honestly. My ex of 5 years forgot to discard her checklist with cover hickey she had made before we went on vacation. Unfortunately, I didn't find it until we returned. I got caught when I was 18. I was particularly unhappy in my relationship and started to play WoW a lot. Started confiding with some online friend, girl, a lot. One day, before I leave for Mexico, I'm with my girlfriend at my dad's and he asks me what this sheet of paper was on the computer desk. It was my password to everything I had, and I had used it for his password to get into his PC. I tell him that it was his password. She sees the paper, logs it into her beautiful memory, and I leave the next day to Mexico. Smart little GF of mine uses what she saw on the off chance it's also my FB password. It says, get a Facebook message that I'm a cheating butthole while I'm in Mexico after she used the password to get into my Facebook and see messages between myself and online girl. 10/10 private investigator. 10/10 miss her to this day. 10/10 probably catfished. I lost my virginity to a girl I met online. Weeks later she let slip that she was in fact married. I was absolutely terrified and, equipped with her full name, decided to track down her husband and to call him. It took me many hours and many embarrassing calls until I finally found him, and when I did, nearly backed out for fear of him coming after me. He sounded absolutely devastated but also strangely calm, like he'd already known somehow. I've never heard from them again. Later, in my one and only relationship, my GF cheated on me with one of her teachers. Mind you that both were adults at the time. Well, I say cheated. She said that it wasn't cheating because she wanted to break up with me anyways. As you see, so far I'm 2 for 2. And, partly because of this, I don't think that I want to have another relationship. I looked on her laptop and saw she was messaging her mother about this guy she was on a date with. Also messaging her friend about how perfect he was and dong size. She was supposedly at her friend's but never came home that night. We were together for 4.5 years and she couldn't be decent and break up. All of you cheaters can go fricking die, by the way. Be a decent person and just end it. BTW frick you Heather. You be. I lived in a small, boring town, and when we got our first Applebee's, it created a sensation. My side chick insisted I take her there for lunch. Then when we got the check, I tried to leave the waitress a 20. Bad idea. My date thought I was trying to hit on the waitress with the large tip and got upset with me. Oh, Mr. Sinatra, why don't you spend a little of that cash on me instead? Her ridicule shamed me into pulling back the 20 and leaving a 5 instead. Bad idea. My actual girlfriend developed a hankering for Applebee's that night. I tried to weasel my way out of going again, but she wore me down and we got the same waitress. She was none too pleased to see me after that weak tip. Back again? You two really like to eat good in the neighborhood. My girlfriend gave the waitress a strange look and she said, oh, and I love the new pixie cut. Much easier to manage. My girlfriend looked nothing like my mistress. The waitress was simply playing dumb and acting like a haircut was involved to rat me out. And it worked. The GF figured out I had been banging that co-worker with hair down to her butt. Getting wrecked by a waitress. Priceless. My first girlfriend cheated on me. She left to go to a party, but I couldn't go, so I kissed her and said, have fun, be safe. She later called me and said she slept with 2 guys, and that it was so fun that she was dumping me. I'm still recovering from that one. That really sucks if you liked her a lot. Sorry my man. Hope you are doing better now. The guy she cheated on me with contacted me with pictures of her saying she wanted to do bad things with him. He went to her house and all they did was make it. Then he saw I was messaging and calling her non-stop because she hadn't spoken to me for 2 days prior. He was genuinely a decent guy and she fricked me over. Of course I took her back and tried to fix things because I felt like it was my fault. We just ended up fighting all the time and I ended it a week ago. Logged in my Facebook account to her phone to contact someone for an emergency. Didn't have their cell phone number. Logged it out but Messenger was still logged in. She read everything and kept quiet for over a month until she asked me about the other girl and I denied it. The Monopoly money I'd brought with me from another set looked different to the Monopoly money of the current set. I guess they changed how the money looks at some point. Got caught pretty quick. It took me forever to get that this was a joke and I couldn't understand why someone would bring Monopoly money to a date. A friend of mine, Guy, went on a trip to Spain with some buddies. It had been planned for 6 months. GF of 4 months didn't want him to leave. When he came back, he got a call from a random dude that went something like, "Dude, I am so sorry. I slept with you GF at this party. I swear I didn't know she had a BF before she added me on FB the day after. Apparently she had slept with 3 guys at different parties the week he was gone, because he had no reason to just go away when he was with me. Props to the guy at least. I would do the same at his place. A real bro if he really did not know, and I would want to know as well if somebody like that happened." I caught my ex cheating when she gave me her Snapchat password. She was going on a family trip, had no reception, because she wanted to continue our streak. Bear in mind, this was in 2015 and I was 17. Anyways, turns out she was sending obscene messages to dudes while I was at camp, and she sent nudes and hooked up with guys while we had arguments. Find my iPhone. She somehow obtained my login information, tracked me down like a dog with a scent. Cold busted. Funny thing is, Find My iPhone has never come in handy for me. The one time my phone was stolen they simply turned it off. Probably parted it out. Couldn't track the location at all. Frick you, Find My iPhone. Also, I'm a piece of crap and deserve it. Slightly related. I had a married neighbor that I was friends with. I was also married at the time. We worked close to each other and would see one another most days. Shameless flirting. We had a lot in common, but not any line crossing, until he kept inviting me to hang out the time his wife would probably be getting home from work, like 9-10 p.m. I'm perfectly comfortable with males and females being friends, and don't see a problem with it, so I didn't see the signs. I'd usually just stop in for a few minutes while walking my dog. Nothing really progressed or crossed a line until I had told him that I was moving out of the neighborhood and getting a divorce. Late one night, before I had moved out, I came home pretty late and he happened to be outside. He kept asking me where I was coming from. I just said out, grabbing drinks after work. I get a phone call from him shortly after getting in my house. Short version, confessing his undying feelings for me, hoping we could live together and be a big happy family with all our kids, and that I broke his heart cause I came home late and wouldn't tell him where I had been and who I was with. He told me he had been inviting me over late at night so that his wife would catch us together. I managed to calm the situation down. After, like, 3 hours on the phone with him in the downstairs bathroom in my house, my husband and kids asleep upstairs. It took a few weeks, but he came to his senses and I haven't heard from him since. Their home was foreclosed on and they moved a few towns away, so there's not much chance I'll have to see them very often. To my knowledge, the wife never found out. In the meantime, I'm now happily divorced, still mostly single, and loving living an uncomplicated life without the title homewrecker. Not me again, but speaking on behalf of my ex. Got off work early one day, and my girlfriend and I were growing distant. I wanted to do something nice, so I got some sunflowers to surprise her at work. But there she was outside, sitting on this dude's lap with her arms around her. Dude just walked away and she flipped out, forgave her, and about a year later, same thing happens. This time, I looked through her phone and bada bing, she had videos of a threesome with 2 guys. Should have learned my lesson the first time. Not the cheater, but the one she was cheating with. We were caught by a co-worker at her cubicle after hours. She bribed the co-worker to stay quiet by giving her position as head of the office's party planning committee. This worked for a few months until there was a dispute over the way pita bread for a party was to be cut. She ratted out the girl in front of the entire office. I then had a duel with the fiancé, but we ended up both dropping the cheater. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.